The military suddenly locked down the entire town, preventing anyone from entering or leaving. While everyone was still in the dark about what was happening, the town's hospital was already overwhelmed with patients. A mysterious virus was spreading rapidly. The infected had vacant stares, standing motionless. In one hospital room, a patient was chatting one moment and showing the same symptoms the next. The virus was attacking their brains, causing their eyes to turn white and their bodies to start decaying. Then, in a fit of madness, he began to devour his wife. Witnessing her father eat her mother, Sarah was petrified. Bud grabbed her, and they fled immediately. As soon as they reached the hallway, they saw an even more terrifying scene. These people were attacking like maniacs. Using obstacles to block the infected, they quickly escaped the hospital and barricaded the back door with a cabinet. But the outside wasn't safe either, so they climbed over a fence and fled into the woods. The hospital descended into chaos, with all the patients turning into bloodthirsty zombies. Captain Rhodes used his cane to jam the door and opened another door to escape, only to find it filled with zombies. Despite his fierce resistance, he couldn't withstand the relentless horde. The other three, instead of helping, stood by helplessly as Captain Rhodes was overrun. Taking advantage of the distraction, they quickly retreated and hid in a room. Meanwhile, zombies had overrun the place. They planned to escape by car, but the keys were on the deceased Captain Rhodes. They had no choice but to go back and retrieve them. Nina and Trevor crawled into the ventilation ducts, navigating over rooms filled with zombies. After passing through several rooms, they finally spotted Captain Rhodes' body. Fortunately, there were no zombies in this room. Nina closed the door and unexpectedly ran into another survivor, Nick, a soldier. Nina found the car keys and was about to head back when she didn't notice the zombified Captain Rhodes behind her. Now only half a body, he grabbed Nina's foot. She acted swiftly, dragging the zombie into the duct and then kicking it away, narrowly making it back to the room safely. As Trevor was closing the ventilation duct, a zombie bit his hand. Nina quickly disinfected the wound, but Nick wanted to shoot him. Nina stood in his way, mentioning that the doctor said bleach could kill the virus. Nick reluctantly agreed to spare Trevor. Once they were ready, they jumped out of the window, immediately confronted by zombies. Nina shot one down, but the gunfire attracted even more zombies. They leaped from the window, and while they were fighting off the zombies, the doctor quietly slipped away. When the doctor reached the car, he encountered a survivor begging for help. With a sinister smile, he pushed the survivor towards the zombies and then drove off, leaving everyone else behind. The group noticed the doctor fleeing and collectively cursed him and his family. With hordes of zombies closing in, they pulled out Molotov cocktails they had prepared earlier. They lit them and hurled them at the approaching zombies. The flames engulfed the zombies, reducing them to ashes. Seizing the moment, the group climbed into a Humvee. However, zombies were already swarming the vehicle. Nina, relying on her 2.5 years of driving experience, started the Humvee and skillfully maneuvered it, successfully shaking off the zombies. Meanwhile, Bud and Sarah were still hiding in the woods, watching the streets swarming with zombies. Bud noticed someone inside a nearby broadcast room. Taking advantage of a brief lull in zombie activity, they dashed across the street, but the door was locked. Desperately, they banged on the door, attracting the attention of nearby zombies. At the last moment, the door opened, and a frightened Paul let them in. After confirming they were not infected, he lowered the chair he was holding as a weapon. Inside the room were 2 other survivors. Sarah sensed something was wrong when she saw bloody tissues in the trash can, indicating someone was already infected. She slowly picked up a knife from the table and demanded to know who was hiding their symptoms. Paul pointed to the other 2, noting the bloodstains on their clothes. As they argued, Paul suddenly became vacant-eyed and transformed into a zombie in the next instant. Reacting quickly, Sarah dispatched Paul before he could attack. Meanwhile, Nina reached a weapon shop and stocked up on a large supply of guns and ammunition. As they were about to leave, they discovered that Trevor had transformed into a zombie. However, he seemed different. He wasn't aggressive, possibly because he was a vegetarian and had no interest in flesh. Nina was about to drive away when she heard her brother Bud's plea for help on the radio. Without hesitation, she turned the car around and sped towards the broadcast station. Back at the broadcast station, Bud and Sarah had just left when Bud spotted his mother on the street. Losing his senses, he walked towards her, unaware that she had turned into a zombie. Just in time, Nina arrived and ended their mother's suffering. Although he knew she had become a zombie, Bud still found it hard to accept. Nina urged everyone to evacuate quickly. Sarah went upstairs to get the other two survivors, but found an eerie silence. One survivor was already dead, and the zombified woman was right behind her, attacking Sarah the next second. She hid under a table, and Bud, hearing the commotion, rushed upstairs and used a chair to push the zombie down the stairs. The group then drove away and reached the town's exit, only to find it overrun. Zombies, including some soldiers, were firing guns at them. The enemy's firepower was too strong, forcing them to retreat in their vehicle. If they had been a moment later, they would have been riddled with bullets. They made their way through the woods to an abandoned factory. Just as they caught their breath, the zombified Trevor let out a loud scream, attracting nearby zombies. Nina was almost bitten, but Nick quickly cut off the zombie's arm. With a horde of zombies swarming in, they had no choice but to leave Trevor behind and retreat further into the factory. They opened a door and discovered what appeared to be a hidden laboratory. Inside, they found the doctor who had fled earlier, frantically destroying documents. Under Nina's threat, the doctor showed them a videotape. It revealed that this catastrophe was their doing. They had been trying to develop a bioweapon, but it had mutated uncontrollably. The footage showed that the scientist in the video had also turned into zombies. As they exited the lab, they encountered the mutated scientist. Everyone immediately opened fire, but the scientist was incredibly agile, dodging all the bullets with swift, unpredictable movements before disappearing into the ventilation ducts. The group's shock was evident. This zombie was clearly smarter than the others. Realizing they needed to leave quickly, they moved to exit, but the doctor, who was at the back, was suddenly pulled up into the ducts. Moments later, his skeletal remains were thrown down. They reached a three-way fork, where Bud suggested splitting up to increase their chances against the zombies, as staying together made them an easier target. As expected, Nina and Nick encountered a large group of zombies. Nick fought bravely, holding off the zombies and sacrificing himself so Nina could escape. She eventually reunited with Bud, and they discovered a room filled with gas canisters. Quickly, they devised a plan for a fiery trap. Once everything was set, Nina took on the task of luring the zombies. She cautiously approached the horde and shouted, "Hey!" Unexpectedly, the zombie leader ambushed her from behind. At the crucial moment, the zombified Trevor intervened, shooting at the zombie leader. Enraged, the leader abandoned Nina and charged at Trevor. Following the leader's command, all the zombies attacked Trevor, tearing him apart. Taking advantage of the distraction, Nina fled, with the zombie horde chasing after her. With perfect coordination among the three, they managed to incinerate all the zombies in the base, reducing them to charred remains. They walked out of the base, got into a G-Class and drove away from the town,